Hi, my name is Dustin Thompson. I'm with Delaware United. We're here with Don Allan again. We're going round two. We're going to talk about policy this time. Does that sound good?
Sounds good.
Great. So I was watching your first interview, and you touched on a lot of different topics that are really important, particularly down in your district. So I want to talk a little bit more in depth about some of these issues and maybe some ways that you have in mind that we can address them.
Mm-hmm.
Let's start with the big one. I saw you put out your clean water policy, right?
Yep.
So why don't we run through that a little bit?
Okay. So we have a lot of clean water problems in my neck of the woods, both with inland bays and drinking water. Mainly, I worry about drinking water just because of all the health risks that are associated with it. We have a lot of high nitrate water in our area. The average, if you look at a map of, let's say, the southern part of the 36th district, there's some wells that have been tested at a nitrate level in the 90s. The state and country say that drink anything below 10 is safe, which is actually already kind of high. I would say if your drinking water is anywhere above a 7, you would want a treatment plan for it. Other countries have nitrate levels down as low as 2.9. We allow up to a 10. But there are some things we could do to try to help the issue. And one of the main things is awareness. People just don't know. I didn't think about it before I met my wife. My wife works in public health, and just making sure people are aware of the problem. So one thing we could do is requiring that all homes that are sold or leased have a water test accompanying that home that's less than a year old. You want to make sure it's somewhat current because groundwater, just like water we can see outside of our windows or on the beach, moves. So I know, for instance, my neighbors recently, when they moved, they built their house, I think roughly 2 years ago. They moved their water tested fine. They did a water test roughly 3 or 4 months ago. The nitrate level was on 11. Now, they have a 2 and a 4-year-old daughter, a 2-year-old daughter and a 4-year-old daughter that have been drinking the water now for at least maybe up to a year that have been drinking water that's not safe for them. It's particularly unsafe for younger people and older people, like many things in our world. Other things we can do, we can increase grants to farmers to make sure that they're moving their agricultural business in a way that respects the environment and is good for the environment, and actually can be beneficial to them.
There's also not just the environmental impact, there's also the humanitarian impact. Mm-hmm. And I know you have other ideas as well to solve the root cause of the problem.
Yeah, public water districts. We have public water that's starting to get to many areas of our county, and some of the most affected areas are pretty close to established water districts, except they lay just outside of like a town limits or certainly things like that. Ellendale actually has been trying to get a referendum to pass to establish a water district recently. Last referendum failed by 13 votes. And mainly it's because people can't afford a water bill. It'd be roughly $400 a year, I think was the last estimate. And so using the state legislature to try to push to establish those districts where we can try to fix some of the water issues by treating it would be a great idea. Delaware is one of the only states that lets you treat, and this is going to be gross, but certain septic waste and spray it on fields around. We don't require this run through a sewage treatment plant. Gross, huh? Yeah, and then all of our water is coming from that same ground. Delicious, isn't it? So there's a certain plant that's really close to me that basically sprays sludge on the ground and has really damaged every well in a certain neighborhood that's called Collins and Russell. It sits right outside the Milton town limits. One of the areas we could certainly get a water district to. It's so close to it right now. So that'd be great ways to fix some of the problems. And then also just passing a clean water bill from the state and the state legislature. So there's funding available for these projects. Something that the legislature's tried to do this past year, but it hasn't gotten out of committee. And despite the fact that it's a tax on some people, at least the current bill was, I think there's other ways to do it, but I've yet to run into one person talking to people that isn't all for paying that $40 a year to try to fix the water problems that are going on, whether they're drinking water or if inland bays and the oceans that are all around us.
Yeah. So I know that's a huge issue in your district, but you also have some other pretty major issues. I know you've talked about educational funding, and you told me a story, and I want everybody to hear that story about the schools having to shut down in one area while they're thriving in the other.
Yeah, so the 36th district is split between 2 school districts. We have Cape Henlopen School District, which is from basically Lincoln, Milton area south, and then Milford School District. And Cape has some inherent advantages, and Milford has some inherited disadvantages. And Milford has a middle school that's been basically condemned. They can't let kids enter the building. So while the original plan was to be able to spread out the kids, they're now all the middle school and high school kids are basically going to school in the same building. Instead of being able to pass a referendum to fix that, the middle school building. Cape benefits from having a large tax base, mainly that has a lot of tourists in it, so they're collecting property taxes from all those people who have second homes in the area who aren't using the schools. So Cape has a huge benefit there. Milford has a small tax base and also has the disadvantage of being split between two counties. 36th district covers up to the Sussex County line, but the Milford School District goes all the way up into Kent County, quite a bit of ways. So there's some areas with the way the counties assess taxes and certain equalization formulas that don't necessarily work out in Milford's favor. And then Milford also has a high level of English language learners as kids and kids at or below poverty level. I think it's somewhere close to like 47% of kids are either in one of those two categories. So Milford could certainly benefit. It's one of the areas that needs more funding just because it has those kids that have those that are coming up that are struggling with learning the language or worried about where they're going to get their next meal from. So there's certain ways we could fix it, I think. Either the state takes over education funding on a statewide basis, which is okay, but you don't want to necessarily take away from other districts that are thriving, or creating a separate fund and directing it to schools that have a certain level of English language learners and kids at poverty level to try to equalize the amount of money available to each school district that way. I think that's certainly a path that I'll pursue.
And you're in a particularly difficult situation, being that these districts are not directly aligning with counties, but we've talked to Tizzy Lockman in the past about this, and several legislators, Laura Sturgeon as well, about statewide property tax reassessments.
Yeah.
So where are you at on that?
So I had a meeting with the superintendent of Milford and I think their chief financial officer not that long ago, and that was their biggest goal. If we could fix that, we could fix a lot of our problems too. So yeah, fixing the assessment levels, reassessing the whole state is certainly something that could be done. The state has some extra money right now. That might be a good place to invest it in.
Absolutely. Why we're not earmarking for that, and then changing moving forward, our policy on being revenue neutral and the degree to which we have to be revenue neutral.
Yeah, absolutely. Everybody wants to be fiscally responsible, but we have money that we have to direct and spend out somewhere, and
investments have to be smart. Education's a smart investment.
There is no more important investment than education. Everybody talks about attracting jobs to the area. There's no better way to attract companies to your area than having an educated workforce. And
good public schools.
And good public schools.
So that the parents can send their kids.
Yep, and being able to attract great teachers. Delaware is probably above the national average for teacher funding, but we're below all the states that surround us.
Yeah.
I think the average teacher makes around $55,000 a year, but most of the states around us are in the 60s. Yeah. We should certainly be boosting teacher pay and being able to attract teachers to our area.
And speaking of pay, I know one of the big things for you coming from a blue collar background is wages.
Yeah.
How do you feel about our current minimum wage?
Yeah. So when the current minimum wage, first of all, is obviously way too low, and when the General Assembly failed to pass an increase this past year, I don't think I've ever been more angry at my state government. The fact that it fell one vote short to give the poorest among
us. A
Democrat, yeah. Going back to, it's not just Republicans, it's both parties' fault. A Democrat, yeah. To give the people that make the least amount of money, amongst us, an extra $20 a week. Yeah, we're talking about $20 a week.
Which for somebody who makes $5 million, not that much,
huge amount of money.
For somebody that can't afford milk.
Yeah, we should be going beyond that. We should be talking about livable wages, not increasing the minimum wage by $20 a week. Yeah. But people are working at Walmart, retail, restaurants, things like that. Getting them a higher wage is certainly a primary example of what we should be doing. I mean, it costs the state of Delaware so much just to support people that work at Walmart through food stamps, through housing assistance. Why, when you think about Delaware is bailing out Walmart, owned by one of the richest families in this country, baffles me.
It's just good economic sense to pay people a livable wage. It just makes it's fiscally responsible actually.
It is the most fiscally responsible thing you can do. When people make more money, they have more money to spend at local stores, to hopefully be able to buy a house eventually, to at least be able to afford to rent a house. I think to rent the average two-bedroom apartment in Delaware, you have to make like $22 an hour. At our minimum wage now, you have to work 100 hours a week. which is just not possible. And people get so angry at people who get government assistance, food stamps, housing assistance. They should be angry at corporate America. They should be angry at the family that owns Walmart. That's where we should be directing our anger, not at the working poor, not the immigrant down the street. They're not taking your job. They're just trying to survive, and they're struggling to survive because of what we've allowed corporate America to get away with, to not hold up their end of the social contract they should have with our country. Corporate welfare has to stop.
Yeah. I just want to say I'm holding back a round of applause right now. Put that out there on the record.
The clean water issue is the thing that scared me, that got me to run for office. The getting the working class and middle class people higher wages and reducing the tax burden on them is what I'm passionate about. That's, that I grew up in a middle class family here. And we're a growing area, especially the east coast of Sussex County. We are going to need investments in the public transportation to be able to keep up with that growth and be able to get these people to and from work and to and from some recreational activities that hopefully we can all enjoy. And going beyond that, infrastructure too. So being from Sussex County and seeing all the tourists rolling, first of all, we love you guys all coming down. We love taking your money. Come down, spend as much money as you want. But the fact is that we haven't built a road for people in our county in my lifetime. There is not a single road in our county that goes from east to west that is more than one lane in each direction. Not one. So whether you live close to Route 14, I live close to Route 16, we get all the DC tourists on my road on the weekends and summers, Route 9, and good Lord, Route 24, I don't know why anybody would ever want to live on Route 24. It's awful. So getting more money sent to our area to fix that problem. I'd like to be able to get from east to west in the county, on a weekend and not have to worry about sitting in dead stop traffic.
Yeah.
I'd like people on the west coast of the county to be able to come enjoy our beaches.
Yeah.
Because right now, honestly, people like me, we don't go to the beach in the summer.
Right.
We love late April, early May, and we love September and October. Outside of that, we stay away. And part of it is just, it's horrible to get there.
Yeah.
Because we haven't built roads to let the people that actually live in our county, get there. Route 1 gets developed because of Newcastle County, where the power stays in the state, but we have to actually build a road for us.
Well, thank you very much. That is a lot of important information we've talked about today. Thank you so much for coming up. Many of you don't know, you're watching. You drove all the way up here to have a chat with us. We really appreciate that.
No problem. My daughter's at the Brandywine Zoo right now, so we didn't get any complaints.
Thank you, everybody, for watching. Thank you again, Don Allan.
Thanks for
having
having
a good
us.
day.